A chilly evening breeze swept through the dimly lit streets of the city. The world moved on, people in their cars, lost in their routines, barely noticing the shadows of life unfolding on the sidewalks. Among those shadows was a little girl, no older than 7, curled up tightly on a cold bus stop bench, hugging a small teddy bear that had clearly seen better days. She was fast asleep, her cheeks streaked with dried tears, her clothes thin and mismatched, and her shoes nearly falling apart. She had no one, or at least, that's what the world believed. And on that night, her fate changed because someone decided to stop and see her, truly see her. In a gleaming black car parked nearby, a man sat silently, watching from the tinted glass. His name was Alexander Ward, a name known across the business world. A self-made billionaire, CEO of one of the largest tech empires in the country, Alexander was known for his cold efficiency, his unmatched work ethic, and his strict focus on numbers and performance. But tonight, something shifted. He was on his way home from a charity gala, a fancy event filled with champagne, suits, speeches, and promises. But despite all the donations and photo ops, he couldn't shake the feeling that real change didn't live in ballrooms. It lived in moments like this. The girl stirred slightly, pulling her knees closer to her chest. Alexander stepped out of his car, ignoring the questions from his driver. The man who had once sat in boardrooms negotiating billion-dollar deals now crouched down on a street corner, his coat brushing against the dirty pavement. He gently placed his jacket over the girl and whispered, "Hey, are you okay?" Startled, she blinked, her eyes open, frightened at first. But there was something in his voice, gentle, sincere. She didn't speak, but her eyes told a story. A story of loss, abandonment, and resilience. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said softly. "My name's Alex. What's yours?" She hesitated. Then, in a voice barely audible, she replied, "Lily." "Where's your family, Lily?" She looked down. "I don't have one." That night, instead of heading home, Alexander took her to a nearby diner. He didn't ask too many questions, he just listened. She ate like she hadn't in days. She told him about her mom, who had passed away the year before, and about being shuffled through shelters that felt more like prison than home. She had run away from the last one, scared and tired of being a forgotten name on a paper. He couldn't sleep that night. For the first time in years, the weight of numbers and profits faded, and something else took over, a purpose, a calling that couldn't be ignored. The next morning, he called a meeting, not with his board, but with Child Welfare Services. Using every legal resource available, he started the process to become Lily's guardian. It was far from simple. His past, his workaholic image, and his lack of parenting experience all stood against him. But he didn't stop. In the weeks that followed, he changed. Meetings were rescheduled, projects handed over, and the office that once buzzed with urgency now made room for laughter and the sound of tiny footsteps. Lily came to work with him some days, always holding his hand, slowly opening up. She drew pictures on his office walls, asked curious questions about his gadgets, and often fell asleep on his couch while he typed away on his laptop. His employees began to see a different man, one who smiled more, who listened deeply, and who, for the first time, asked people about their families, their struggles, and their dreams. He started a new foundation under his company's wing, one that focused not just on funding shelters, but on creating safe, nurturing homes for abandoned children. He also began speaking publicly, not about stocks or innovation, but about the invisible children, like Lily, who lived on the edges of society. He shared their stories, challenged the system, and invested in solutions that mattered. He met with social workers, teachers, foster parents, and even former street kids. He listened and he learned. Lily blossomed in this new life. With therapy, love, and structure, her spirit slowly healed. Her nightmares faded, replaced by dreams of becoming a teacher, or maybe an artist. Alexander became more than a guardian, he became a father, not just in the legal sense, but in every way that mattered. And yet, he often said that Lily had saved him, not the other way around. "I was rich, yes," he admitted in an interview months later. "But I was poor in all the ways that mattered. I had money, but I didn't know joy. I had success, but I didn't have meaning. She gave me that. One child, asleep at a bus stop, gave me a reason to live differently." The story of Alexander and Lily spread. Media picked it up, but he didn't want fame. He wanted awareness. His story became a catalyst, others began stepping forward. CEOs pledged mentorship for foster teens. Families opened their homes. Volunteers increased. People began asking, What would I do if I saw a child like Lily? But the most beautiful moments weren't the headlines or applause. They were the ordinary ones. Lily learning to ride a bike, Alex helping her with homework, the way she lit up every Father's Day with handmade cards that said, "You found me when no one else did." There's a picture that sits on Alexander's desk now. It's not of his company headquarters or any award. It's of that first night, the bus stop, the teddy bear, and a little girl under a too big coat. Beside it, a note written in a child's scrawl, "Thank you for seeing me." And so, the man who built empires found his legacy not in skyscrapers or shares, but in a heart he chose to love. Every day, he reminds people that the world doesn't change through massive acts alone, it changes in quiet moments of compassion, in noticing those we usually pass by. It changes when we look up from our lives long enough to say, "Come with me." Because sometimes, saving someone else's life is how we truly begin to live our own.